Good afternoon and welcome back to TapRooT TV. I'm Benna Dort and I'm here with Ken Reed. Hey Ken.
Hey, how's it going, Benna?
Going well.
Excellent.
Today we are going to talk about something that comes up a lot, and that is the issue of blame when an incident occurs. And with TapRooT, you know, we are well known for avoiding blame.
That's right.
We don't like to blame anybody, and we focus more on where the safeguards failed or what wasn't in place to help keep the human from basically making the decision they made that possibly led to the incident.
That's right.
So Ken, why does that happen so often?
There's a few reasons for it, and actually Mark wrote a really cool article on just earlier this week. And
he writes the best articles.
Yeah, he has this really good article about why it seems like that companies gravitate towards blame type root causes and corrective actions.
Yeah.
And he just has some a really good article here that talks about what leads companies to do that, and why it's probably not a good idea. So
yeah, it's a great article. It's got some interesting examples in it, and also some people have started making some comments. And this is a really great place if after this you go read that.
There's
that
some really
blog.
good comments on that. Yeah,
Love to hear your comments. So please go and see that. We'll put a link to it after this Facebook Live is over.
Right.
So blame.
So blame. It seems like it's one of those first things that people go towards when there's a problem. One of the first questions a company asks. So if I go to my boss and I say, well, not my boss, but a generic boss.
A generic boss, yes.
And say, hey, we had a problem or somebody made this mistake. One of the first questions that many companies ask is, well, who was it?
Right.
And they want to know, in their minds, they're already thinking,
who was it and what did they do?
What did they do wrong?
Yeah.
What are we going to do about it? And they're already thinking of corrective actions. And those corrective actions are often focused directly on the person again.
Right.
So blame.
Versus the process.
That's right.
Yeah.
And so we have to first understand, I think the first thing to really keep in mind is that people don't make mistakes on purpose in most cases.
No.
Right? They're trying to do a good job. So just blaming somebody for the mistake they made is not going to be very helpful. Because they did it by accident, or the reason that they did it made sense to them at the time.
Which, in reading the article, that's one of the things that kind of stuck out to me. Versus looking to blame somebody, let's look at the reason it occurred.
That's right.
Or the reason they touched the wrong button,
or turned the valve the wrong way,
or installed something the wrong way.
That's right. So why do companies oftentimes go to this blame side? And you'll notice it happens all the time. You can watch on the news. One of the first questions, is who's getting fired and who's in trouble, right? And it's just one of those simple things. And oftentimes it's because it's easy to blame somebody. It's simple. When on just about every incident that's out there, somebody has made a mistake. I mean, we don't really need a lot of discussion or a lot of investigation to find out that somebody did something wrong. So most investigation processes stop at that point. We say, we found somebody made a mistake, therefore we now know how we're going to fix it. We're going to blame that person.
And depending on the type of mistake that happens or the incident that happens, some people are looking to have a bad guy.
That's right. Because I can deflect it away
emotionally
from
too,
somebody
though.
else.
People that's how human nature is.
It is. We're always looking. It seems like that's just how we think a lot of times. So it's easy to blame somebody. And because almost every incident has a mistake, there's almost always somebody to blame. So it's very easy to find.
In reality, most likely a safeguard has failed.
That's right. We need to recognize that we as companies are trying to take this human error, this mistake, into account. We have to expect our employees to make mistakes, not be happy about it, but we should expect our employees are not going to be 100% of the time. Right? They're going to make mistakes. So identifying that somebody made a mistake is important, but if you don't go beyond that and understand why they made this mistake, then you're kind of missing some opportunities here.
Right, because it's like placing blame is, we've talked about it's quick, it's easy,
right?
But it's ineffective and potentially dangerous.
That's right, exactly right. If your corrective actions are all based on punishing somebody,
right?
I mean, it's expensive. Like you said, it's expensive, right?
Yeah.
So So what am I going to do? Fire everybody that makes a mistake? That gets really expensive for the company.
And then you're doing everything yourself.
And then you're all by yourself, right? Your company goes from a large company to a very small
Very
company
small,
very
out of
quickly.
business company, yes.
And it does seem easy to fix problems with blame
Mm-hmm.
because you feel like my corrective action was to counsel the employee on the
Right.
importance of turning the valve the right way. But did I really fix anything? It seems like it, because if I look in the next month or two, I probably won't have that incident again.
Well, and people are on alert for that incident
That's
as
right.
well.
So we're all thinking about
everybody's
it.
thinking of turning it the right direction.
And that works for a very short period of time, and then it kind of dies off, and then amazingly enough,
People
the
become
problem
human again.
we do the same things again. So if all we're going to do is assign blame and then punish people for that blame, we're going to have very ineffective corrective actions.
Well, and blame is just a bad idea all around.
It is. It does a lot of bad things at your company. It causes people to hide stuff,
Yes.
to hide mistakes. They not just hide it, but the reporting goes away. Even when somebody realizes they made a mistake or they see somebody else make a mistake, they don't want to report anything now because I know what's going to happen.
Right.
So you don't get people properly reporting these issues. And then, like we said, that the corrective action of just counseling somebody or punishing somebody rarely gets to the actual real root cause of the problem. So.
Well, we were talking earlier when we were discussing what we were going to discuss today. One of the things also that is bad about blame is those precursor incidents that are eventually could lead up to a major incident. If you just blame somebody, you're not going to find those failed safeguards. You're not going to find the ones that are missing and
Right.
those kind of things, so that eventually a bad incident could happen off of some of these little ones.
Right.
And he talks interesting the mystery incidents.
Yeah.
I like the way he put that.
Yeah,
in it.
It's a really. I recommend everybody read that
Yeah.
article on that. There's a really cool example in there about some of these, specifically a mystery incident that occurred
Yeah.
that we were never able to really figure out at this particular company, and it's a really interesting.
Yeah, you got to read the
talk.
article.
Yeah, it's really good.
But when I read that, I was like, oh, that so makes sense.
Absolutely.
And
you
it's
know.
like, whew, I'm
When-
retired now. But by the way, guess what happened? But that's what happens when people are afraid that they're going to get in trouble over what happened.
Right.
I mean, they're going to hide things. They're
Right.
not going to step up, and then bad things can really happen in the future.
And it's really frustrating because you have that opportunity to put some really good corrective actions in place, and if all you're doing is focusing on the person, the human factors, root causes are being missed. I remember a specific incident years ago when I was in the Navy.
You?
This. Can you believe
What
it?
did you do?
I may have made a mistake.
What did you do?
I won't go into detail, but I ended up turning the wrong valve.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember the investigation that we did on that, and the corrective actions were mainly focused on me.
Mm-hmm.
And not, I mean, it wasn't horrible. I didn't get fired or anything, but it was, I was counseled for making a mistake, and then I was designated to give training to everybody about the mistake that I made, and so it was really
to embed it into you.
That's right. It was really for me, not
Yes.
for everybody else. So it was a punishment kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it was one of those problems where the actual, looking back on it, the human factors were the problem. The procedure was it's one of those ones where you had to follow this part of the procedure, and then if you do this, then go here, and then if you turn this valve, do this, and if you're going to do this, and you had to flip back and forth and back and forth. And I missed one of those flips, and I went to the wrong part of the procedure. So it was honestly a very...
Anybody could do that.
That's what I was trying to
Exactly.
say. That's right.
Anybody could have made that mistake.
Right. But if you don't fix the procedure, somebody is going to make another mistake later on.
Right.
So that's where, by putting blame on somebody, you're really missing the opportunity to catch those human factors problems that are causing people who are trying to do a great job to make these kind of mistakes.
Well, speaking of trying to do a great job, we did talk a little bit earlier also about, sometimes somebody is just a bad hire. But one of the things we got down to in our discussion was that still even wasn't that person's fault.
Right.
I mean, it was possibly in their hiring procedure. If you kind of go backwards with it, you could still...
That's right. I always I hear that come up quite often is it was just a bad hire, and then there's two things that always run through my mind with that is first of all, you're probably deflecting, and there's probably other things that you're missing if you're still again focusing on that person. But there is a very tiny number of times where it actually is someone who isn't competent to do the job or didn't have the right skill set. And then is it really, again, that person's fault again, right?
Yeah.
Now we're back to our hiring practices and our testing procedures and our supervision that we have in place. A lot of human factors, again, as a company, of how we should have these safeguards put in place to protect ourselves from employees that are really good employees but make mistakes, average employees that make maybe more mistakes,
right.
And then every now and then you'll get an employee who just was not qualified for the job.
Right.
We should be able to have something in place to catch that also.
Right.
So.
And blame, it goes against what their goal is in doing a root cause investigation.
That's
I mean,
right.
it goes against what the whole purpose of it is, and that's to make sure it's not going to happen again or, keep people from getting hurt. I mean, it just totally goes against the whole grain of what we're here for.
That's right, and you're going to find that. But if that's the first thing that you gravitate towards is some kind of a blame and punishment kind of thing, for a lot of the reasons that we talked about, there's a lot of opportunities that you're missing at your company.
Look for a reason why they did what they did.
There's
versus,
almost always
Yeah.
People don't just randomly do bad things. They do bad things for good reasons,
Yes.
and that's where root cause analysis gets to. So.
You did a very good job on this.
Awesome.
I like it.
Well, thanks. I didn't get blamed for this one then. That's
You
good.
did not get blamed for this. If you have an issue in your company where blame is happening a lot, send your managers this article that Mark Paradise did. Does a great job of explaining why blame actually doesn't make sense.
Right.
So if you need training in TapRooT to truly get to the root cause of why things happen, that's what we're here for.
Right.
And we want to help you. You can go to one of our public courses, find taproot.com/courses, I believe is what it is. We do on-site courses. Contact us at info@taproot.com. So, you got anything else? Anything you want to blame anybody for today?
I think I blamed enough people today, so we're
You blamed
in good shape.
yourself
I
that
did.
one time, yeah. So, well, we appreciate you for spending your time with us. We know your time is very valuable, and we hope this was beneficial to you. So we will see you next week.
Yeah. Bye-bye.
Bye.